today my guest, Louise Musto-Choate. And I think if I just say Louise, everybody knows you.
Absolutely.
Because you involved in everywhere, like events around Medford. Circle the Square, Cache. By the way, what's a Cache?
Cache means Coalition for Arts, Culture, and a Healthy Economy.
Oh,
So
okay.
what that means is we want to take arts and culture and involve the businesses throughout the city to recognize and appreciate it and help us put that forth to the entire city.
Okay.
So,
And Louise and I, we met when I was taking her class, when she was teaching PMC, pure metal clay
right.
jewelry. Unfortunately, the gallery not exist anymore where the
Yeah.
classes were held. And hopefully some people in Medford City Hall will listen to us and give us the opportunity to show how many talented people live in town, in the city, that they can show tremendous amount of artwork.
Well, I'd like to tell you about that because it will be in the Medford transcript today, so I won't be giving away secrets. There is a group of us, and we are calling for Arts Collaborative Medford, and we are looking for a home for arts and culture. We've been working on this, well, I've been working on it for a few years with a couple of city councilors, and now we have a group that with like minds are going to try to work on this and be fundraising and awareness and whatever. It will probably take a while, but I think we'll do it. We're very determined to do it, so I'm very excited about this. Yeah.
All right. Well, the dream will come true.
Yes,
Let's
it will.
put it this way. And so this is new, a media you start working with.
Right.
And tell us about why, how you came upon this particular.
Okay. First, let me say that like you say, I did precious metal clay. I bought, made it, sold it, taught classes in it. And you get to a point where people say, do you do anything else? And I thought, well, yeah, I do a lot of things. I volunteer. I belong to this organization, that organization. But they seem to want more from me for some reason, like that wasn't enough. So all of a sudden, I'm a YouTuber. So I learned most of my precious clay metal jewelry from YouTube, videos, DVDs. And so I went on YouTube, and I thought, I'd like to start doing things with mixed media, like in painting and colors and learning about textures. So I started this journal, and I learned about different kinds of molding paste, using sand, using objects, different kind of paint, sprays, watercolors. So I made like a journal. And then one day when I was on YouTube, I saw this acrylic abstract painting. And I always thought, oh, I can't paint or draw or anything. When people would say to me, you're so creative. Don't you draw? Don't you paint? And I'd say, no, I can't. So I came across this YouTube video that talked about accidental painting. And I said, probably everything I do is going to be an accident. So it was discovered back in the 1930s by a very famous painter whom I don't remember his name, but he's in every gallery worldwide, and he's in MoMA in New York and whatever, and he stumbled upon it when he decided to mix paints together instead of doing it with a brush. And he poured it on the canvas, and he tilted it, and he added things to it, and it was beautiful. And people loved it and said, oh, I like your new work. And he didn't think it was his new work, he thought it was his work. So I delved into it. I bought a lot of things. I bought tons of paint. You need to have pouring mediums. You need to learn all about density and opacity of paints, which I never knew before. And then it's all trial and error. And so I started buying canvases, some inexpensive because I felt like they were going to be flops. The first few I did were unrecognizable, all the paint muddled together, and I had brown and orange, and I did not intend to have those colors. So I belong to Danvers Art Association in Danvers. It's a great organization. It's about 100 years old, and they acquired a beautiful schoolhouse from the town, and they just maintain it. They raise all their money through shows and the auction once a year. They raise enough to heat the building, electricity, and just keep it going. And so a friend of mine who was a member, he said to me, "Why don't you join?" So I joined, and the first time I did anything was the Christmas fair, and I actually had my jewelry and some crocheted items. And so then comes along the spring show. I did the jewelry again. Came the fall show, and all of a sudden it's a jewelry art show. So I said, I'd love to put something up on the wall just to get people's impression, actually, of my artwork, to see if I have any talent. And I could walk around the room during this show as a member and listen to people talking. And I heard some really good comments. So I should have probably taken this one out first.
Sure.
So this actually is the one that I submitted amongst the others.
Oh, that's pretty.
And I won third place ribbon. And as I walked around that night of the show, I said, oh, this one won a ribbon, and that one won a ribbon. And I was called into the other room and said, look who else won a ribbon. And my friend who had introduced me to Danvers Art Association, Bob Marcelino, who you know, I think, had won a beautiful ribbon, like first place or second place. And then he said, no, not me. And he brought me over to my painting. I saw that ribbon, and I can't tell you. I mean, I was screaming, I want a ribbon! I want a ribbon! And so, and everybody was like, okay, we know now because we hear it.
It's a pretty work, yeah.
Very, probably some of my favorite colors are in there. The teal I really love. And so I use very different techniques, and that's why I brought different ones to show you techniques.
We'll talk about this one,
This is called a tree ring. And so what I do with this, several things actually. It's a pour and a tree ring. So what I did with this was I knew the colors I wanted. And this basically came the way I wanted it. It very rarely does. And I layered the colors into a cup. I had to mix it. You have to mix it to a certain pouring consistency, so that some of the paints that are opaque will go to the bottom of the cup. And then the others will sit on it, and others will pour through it, depending on what you want the outcome to be. So this, called the tree ring, you basically fill your cup.
Yeah, you can see that.
Right. You basically fill your cup, but I didn't just want it. There are some that are just a whole circle, and they just keep going around and around, and they're lovely. But I kind of wanted this to go over. So when I did that, I held the cup, and you have to hold your hand steady and go in a little tight little circle, tight little circle, tight little circle. And you can see these are so much closer than this part. And then I decided, well, what would happen if I let go a little bit and got a little bit wider and a little bit wider and a little bit wider. And then I left it there because the next thing in the cup was going to be white. I really didn't want white in the middle. So I just pulled the cup up, and I poured the rest of it here. So then you see, very different. And I got a few little planets going on here.
Right.
And cells. So everybody who does this type of abstract painting complains, I don't get any cells. Some of the things you can put in there are silicone, treadmill oils, alcohol, different things.
So it's canvas. It's on
canvas.
canvas.
This is on canvas. Yeah, I work on canvas. I'll talk more about other substrates. But so this is on canvas. So
what year is that you did? When
I did this last year.
2017.
I started June 2017.
Okay.
And in the fall, I want my first ribbon.
Yeah.
I frame some of my things.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's like boxing,
this is,
right?
Yeah, it's actually sort of like a shadow box, but it doesn't, it has the painting be able to come out a little bit.
Right.
And it really frames it well. These are my favorite types of frames.
Okay.
And then you have to put it all together.
Wood,
it's
right?
wood. No, it's wooden. So it
Oh, I
takes some
see.
drilling,
Yeah.
and you get acquainted with your electric drill again. And so from here,
Yeah.
there were 2 other paintings that I had put in for the juried show, and there were the other 2 people liked better than this, and some said, no, this was interesting, but the others were very different. And so it encouraged me to just keep on going.
Yeah.
I just kept on going, and so then
You want me to put this back?
yes,
Or?
you
Okay.
can. So this past was it November, we did the BB Estate Artisanal Ladies. There were 10 of us there, and all different types of mediums. There was painting, photography, a lot of fiber arts, beautiful jewelry, and then some things like some holistic renderings and music to go with them, and beautiful candles that people made. A very interesting show. It was probably one of the nicest
So this is
shows
running
that I've done.
every year, right?
Every year we have done it. The BB Estate has once a month for each type of shows.
Okay.
And so this was my 3rd Artisanal Ladies. It is all filled.
We need to tell our viewers that's Melrose.
Oh, I'm sorry, yeah. So that's held in the BB Estate in Melrose, which is a lovely little old house.
Yeah.
A lot of character, a lot of architecture. And so you think you're visiting somebody's home that has beautiful artwork in it. And so, no, we'd like more of that in Medford, I'll tell you. And I know Mackie has been doing some wonderful new things with art and inviting artists to show their work and whatever. But I would like to see a lot more venues. So I continued, and I needed to have paintings to put up on the wall, and I had a few, but not anything substantial. So after the Danvers show, I started really painting a lot. This is one of my favorites, and as you see, almost the same colors as in the first one, and that's why I brought it, to show you that you can use almost the same colors, except this is gold. The other was an orangey gold, and black and teal, which I love, I guess.
So it's the same cup,
the same
different layers.
It is. So what I did
Oh.
So on this one, I actually, and you could do it many ways, the way you like it. I actually asked my Facebook friend art group, which way should I do this? And we all agreed this was the way, but you can change this. So in this one, I actually just mixed the certain colors, and I poured it over the canvas, okay? And in different shapes and sizes of thinness of it, thickness of the lines. And then I took black, and I swiped it with a piece of paper.
Oh, okay.
And so you just swipe it, and what happens is the black is opaque, and the colors are not. And they're what they call transparent. So what I did with this one is I put a little bit of treadmill oil in the other colors aside from black, so that when you take the paper or whatever the object you want and go across the paint, then all of the oils will come out a bit. Because the black is opaque, it has the paint peep through. So then that was okay, but it was black and teal. And I'm starting to like gold a lot.
So you said you have a journal where you're writing all these experiments.
No,
No?
I'm not.
Oh,
And
but you should,
I should be doing that
Yeah.
because there are a lot of things I forget.
Yeah,
And
because
you're
that's
right.
yeah, because when I teach the silk painting, and
Right.
I encourage student to experiment,
Right.
and then I said, don't forget to write.
To write
What
it.
did you do in this particular one?
Right.
Because if you want to repeat, you
Yep.
just pull the card or whatever, the notebook, and you found this one, and of course, taking a picture, put it next to it.
Right. And I did that when I was doing my journaling in my journal. And when I look back at it now,
Uh-huh.
it was really quite awful and quite ugly. And I really thought with each page I did, I was getting better, but I wasn't. But I feel now I have. So what I did then was I took gold paint, I mixed it up,
Uh-huh.
and I have some favorite paints.
Yeah.
This was not one of my favorite gold paints, but
Uh-huh.
it worked well for this particular thing. So then I thought, well, what would happen if I put some gold on there and then swipe that too? But
Oh.
what I did was I used a palette knife this time.
I see.
So I could start and stop.
Right,
So
right.
then I
can
took
see
the
that
gold
right there.
paint
Yeah,
and I put it there, and then I could start and stop it
Huh.
so that it didn't.
So the canvas
Didn't-
background was white.
This canvas was white.
Okay.
Okay. I don't know if I brought you something that I poured colors, but what you can do is what we call negative space. So if I just want a little bit of color or a little bit of a design, I could pour white paint
Yeah.
all over here and then mix up colors or place colors on the canvas that will just cover it a certain amount and leave that negative space. Let me see what I did bring here.
Okay.
See if I have anything like that. So of course I didn't bring it,
Oh, okay.
but that's okay.
Yeah,
So
but we'll be showing your website where you have all
Right.
the samples and or finished artwork.
I
and,
do.
Yeah,
I do
include the jewelry also.
yes, my website actually has sections so that I have
Yeah.
my abstract
Yeah.
paintings and my jewelry by category.
Uh-huh.
So, you know, for everybody to see.
Right.
So then I would like to show you
Yep.
this one.
Okay.
So that was a swipe, okay? And very, I mixed the 3 different colors.
Uh-huh.
So this is also a swipe. Oops, and I only used
Yep.
the 2 again.
Yeah.
And actually, it looks like teal, but it's teal with a lot of other colors mixed in, and there's gray. Every now and then you
Yeah.
can see the gray come
Yeah.
through. But I wanted this white to come just like that. So after I poured it, I just poured white, or I placed it with my brush, and I just put the white there.
Yeah.
And then I swipe this way and this way. But what I used this time was a long spatula that you use for frosting a cake.
Oh.
So you learn
Right,
like,
right.
all these different ways to do things, and they don't always come out as you plan.
Right.
Hence, accidental painting.
Yeah.
So, and what I like to do now is also for people that would come to my shows
Yeah.
and don't necessarily have wall space, don't particularly want something this size
Yeah.
for their wall. It's too big, it's too small. I have taken my art into tiles. So I make coasters, which is all my original art, hot plates, and I just started making these beautiful boxes I call everything or anything box, which are rosewood boxes with a 6x6 tile, and all those tiles are not only hand painted, but I resin them so that they actually, like the coasters, can be used, that they're not just for ornamental purposes or, you know, decorative design. And those were very well received at the BB show. And I did sell some paintings there. So for all intent and purposes, people say I can call myself an artist now, since I won a ribbon and I sold some paintings. So feeling really good about it and really excited.
Oh, that's great.
And there is one more
Yeah.
piece I would like to show you, because when I
Sure.
mentioned the gold,
Yeah.
okay, so this
Wow.
is just one of my
Wow.
very favorites. Not sure I'm going to be able to part with this one
Uh-huh.
because I really love that gold. And that gold is made by Winsor and Newton. Much more expensive paints that come in a tube that are very
And I like
thick.
how you made this here right around too.
Oh, all the way around.
Yeah.
Well, I try to do that and make it be
Wow.
interesting.
Yeah.
Okay? And I
Wow.
actually use my fingers to do that with. Thank you for noticing.
Yeah.
So this I really love. And I've gotten some really good feedback on that. So I actually decided that I would do a little more in the gold.
I think if you will be doing bigger frame and push this little forward.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it
I
will
can
be-
do that
Yeah.
because I do have some frames. They do sell them that are called float frames, not floating frames,
Right.
but float frames.
Uh-huh.
So that mostly half of this would
Uh-huh.
stick out from
Right.
the frame.
Yeah. That's what I'm. Yeah.
And it's very gallery worthy. This
Yeah.
is what they call a gallery wrapped level 3
Oh.
canvas. So the price for this in selling is much higher than one that is 7/8 of an inch level 1 gallery. But it all depends what somebody wants. And so what I'm going for is what intrigues me. What comes out of me when I look at the canvas. I knew what I wanted to do with this. I would say to incorporate red the way I wanted it to come. I probably poured 6 that came up, just did not work. They went into the black. In fact, my daughter, my granddaughter, just moved to a new house, and she asked me for a red, a black, and a white painting. Those 3 colors. I've done 2. They came maroon and gray. So back to the drawing board on those. So it's a lot of experimenting, a lot of feeling. There's a lot. I think you commented on one of mine that they kind of look, like they're part of celestial, part of the sky. So I'm trying to do a lot more of those.
Yeah, it's like cosmic. You can see it's from space. Even the surface of planets. It's pictures from
I'm
NASA.
trying to do that.
Yeah.
So I'm practicing on some birch circles to do it. They're inexpensive, and so I can practice on those.
And so
then
this is
do
canvas also.
This is canvas.
Did you try on the wood?
Yes. So
Okay.
I do have a wood panel. It's on my website, and it's an 11 by 14, and it's called Cradled because it's this thick on the sides. It's that thick on the sides.
Right.
And yes, you have to prep it differently than you would a canvas. I buy my canvases, and they have 3 coats of gesso on it, which is a great primer. And it works. I don't have to put any more on.
Right.
Wood, I do 2 or 3 coats. I sand it in between so that you don't have that fuzz sticking up. You still want the paint to adhere to the wood. And so one I have on my website is called Running River, and it to me looks like the sand underneath the water and the river flowing down. I just finished a resined on a cradled wood, which is an 8 by 8, and I did put it in a float frame. And it kind of looks very cosmic. I used all metallics, copper and gold and rose gold, and on a black background on the wooden surface, and mix the resin with the paints. They're actually a powdered mica, a mica powder. And resin is a very tricky thing to do, and it's very sticky if you don't mix it well. I used it a lot with my tiles, and it worked really well. I didn't have a problem. Well, the first couple of times you do have a problem. You have to get used to mixing it well and pouring it. However, it's very different on paintings when you're using different types of paints, acrylics, or powders. So some of the powders if you don't mix them well enough, will clump in the resin, and then you've just ruined something. And it's very expensive to use resin. But the one I did, I love. It really came out very nice.
You probably can do this on glass.
I have poured on glass. I have two. One is called the Monster, and I did put black on the background and shades of browns, beige, and gold, and I think a little copper in there, on it with a negative space, and it did not come out as I planned. It's not one of my favorites, but quite a few people love it because it's odd. So,
well, everyone has different tastes.
Yeah, everybody does, and it's interesting to me to say, you know, oh, I don't like that one, or whatever. It's not what I wanted, but somebody else might want it.
Yeah.
But on the bottom side of anything, it comes from you. It's mine. But if I'm not happy with it, it's very hard for me to present that to the public. But like you say, somebody else might like it.
Right.
But I'm very fussy, and so I'll just do it over. And that's the nicest thing about acrylic paint. It's not like oils, that I can actually prep the canvas again and pour over it. I have quite a few I've done that with.
Okay.
And been so much happier.
Yeah, well, it's remind me this Japanese technique. It's called saminaguchi.
Yes.
That's when you put the ink in the water.
Right.
And then you're doing whatever, and then you put over the paper.
The paper.
And then pull it out, and it's could be abstract, whatever.
Right. Right. Well, part of the challenge to so some of these are, if you, and I didn't bring one like that. If you just did what they call, you can do a flip cup or a poured cup, okay? And the difference being, once you level your paints, you could take, by the way, you could take 2 containers and fill them exactly the same, and then pour them on the canvas, and you wouldn't recognize one from the other. They don't look anything alike. So you have to master.
Right.
You have to master manipulation of that once it hits the canvas. And that's a challenge all the time, because usually you love what comes out of the cup. It's like, oh, this is gorgeous. If it stayed that way, this big, you would love it. Once you move it, you sometimes have to tilt it so that, and you lose the best part. Or you have too much of one color and you're trying to get rid of it. And when you do that, the other side comes out like just blah. And so that's a re-pour. So
Are you planning to teach?
I would love to. When I feel that I know it well enough to explain it well to people. A lot of people on my Facebook groups are doing that now, and it's so exciting. However, when people don't make a nice painting, they're kind of upset. And so, just like when I taught jewelry, I never had anybody who didn't like what they made at the end of the class. So I would like to be able to get to a point. What? You liked what you made. No, that's what I meant to say. Sorry. Nobody ever complained that they didn't like what they made.
Right.
And it's, I guess, I hoped it was my teaching ability.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
I think I could teach. I feel like I need more knowledge and experience myself before I could actually charge somebody.
Yeah. How you? Tell our viewers how you feel when you creating something.
Well, I actually, okay, and then don't mean to be, in a sad frame of mind, but as you well know, I had a health problem, and I just felt like, oh my God, I can't be me anymore. What am I going to do? I can't do the same things. I can't, whatever. And so I started looking into myself, and I said, okay, so you can express yourself in a blue, low mood. My life is over. Or you can do something about it. And I'm a fighter. So that's when I started going on YouTube and said, okay, what can I do? I physically can't do yoga anymore. I physically can't do a lot of things anymore. But there's things I can do, is that's use my mind. And thought about my jewelry and what I called it designs in mind. Then I thought, well, I might have other designs in my mind.
Of course.
And so I went on YouTube, like I said, just looking and looking, and I started. I started journaling, I started learning about things, and I started to do this.
But let's go roll back. The PMC, how that start?
That started, well, let's see. I started beading in about 2000. And just for myself, to make jewelry.
It's just because you retired about that time?
No, I was still working.
Oh, you're still working. Okay.
I was still working. I was working in a pharmaceutical company, actually right here in Medford. And I wore a bracelet to work one day, and I was doing crystals at that time. And one of the girls said, "Oh, that's beautiful. Where did you get it?" I made it. "Can you make me one?" Started. Every time I wore a piece of jewelry, this one girl, Jennifer, her name is, would buy something from me, or order something special in colors. So everybody in the office kind of said, "Wow, where did you get that?" So I started making a lot of beaded things, mostly crystals and very light types of thing. And I found out about West Medford Open Studios. Somebody said to me, "You should sell your jewelry there. It's beautiful." So I applied and I got accepted. And the very first year, I was in a house on the second floor, and I forget the name of the street. A lovely woman and her 2 daughters welcomed me and told me you can use my dining room table. They had already put a cloth for me. And I started to put my jewelry up, and they're like, "Don't you have any prices?" And I said, "Oh, you mean people are going to buy it?" I thought it was just like to meet the artist and you talk about it and whatever. And they said, "Oh no, people buy things." So I quickly took pieces of paper and wrote prices. I didn't have business cards. I didn't have anything. And at the end of the day, I mean, people were, "Wow, those colors, they're beautiful. What made you put those together?" And I was so happy. I sold quite a few things. And I went home and I called my best friend and I said, "They liked me. They really liked me." And she said, "Okay." I went back the next day, and almost closing, a woman came rushing into me and said, "I have this top. My son's getting married in 3 weeks in New York. Can you make me something to go with this?" I'm like, "You're kidding, right?" I had never made a commissioned piece, really. She actually gave me some of her grandmother's beads. I made 3 different pieces using some of hers and some of mine. She let me keep the top to work with. And she came to my house 2 days before leaving from New York, bought the piece to match her top, and bought the other 2 pieces to give as gifts to the bridesmaids. So I was like, I'm doing this. So I beaded for 10 years. And then I just sort of said, I'm kind of running out of ideas. So I went to the bead shop in Lexington, where I bought most of my beads when not online. And they were offering these classes, and I saw this beautiful silver jewelry, and it said, "This is a lump of clay that makes this beautiful jewelry," and it was a picture. And I said, "Oh my God, I have to learn how to do this now." Took one class, made a really nice piece, which I sold recently. I hadn't put it out for a while because that was my first one, but I did sell it recently. And went home, bought books, DVDs, YouTube, and whatever, and I went into business. And that was it. So that year when I did West Medford Open Studios, I did some and some. Some beaded, some silver. And a woman approached me.
What year is that?
Excuse me?
What year is that?
That was 2010.
Okay.
Okay. So, yeah, 2010. So a woman came to me and said, "Oh, is this metal clay?" I said, "Yeah." She said, "Oh, I took this class. I lived in California, and they're so advanced, there's none here. Nobody I know makes this stuff. I went to intensive month-long classes, and nothing I made came out good. So she said, would you be willing to teach me? And I thought, oh my God, I've never taught this. Like you're saying to me, can I teach? I don't know. I know my stuff, but can I teach? But did I know my stuff? I just started. So anyway, Marika, she's a very lovely girl, and another woman at that time that I knew was a beater was interested. So I had my first class in my living room.
Yeah.
And she loved what she made. She's taken, maybe 6 or 7 classes from me. So after the Mystic Art Gallery closed and I stopped doing the classes there, I turned my spare room into a workshop and bought all kinds of things so that I could continue to teach. And I taught quite a few classes, still just stopped when I started painting, but now I've had 3 requests. When are we going to do the next class? So I'm thinking I'm going to have March and April free, because I didn't mention to you, starting the beginning of March, my artwork is going to be in the new gallery at the Medford Public Library.
Oh, yeah.
So they opened
Nice.
it last fall, and I've been asked to
Is that
do
only just for show or sale also?
also.
Oh,
Yeah,
nice.
I am planning to have a reception. I don't have a date yet.
Okay.
I need to talk to the powers that be. And then
I
I'll
think
be-
another option is Multicultural Center in Cambridge.
Oh,
You should apply for that.
okay.
Yeah.
Thank
Katz's
you.
Corley exhibit will be there.
Oh.
On March.
Nice.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
good. And then I'm doing the Melrose Arts Festival the end of April.
Yep.
Again, at Memorial Hall. It's a great take. I know you've been there visiting me many
Yep.
times, but I'll be doing my artwork.
Okay.
And then in May, I'll be at Mr. Coffee Roasters on the walls. When
Yep,
you go
yep.
have your coffee, you can see my artwork there. And so I feel brave that I ventured out and have actually applied and asked people, and they like it.
Well,
so
I'm your
very happy.
admirer, and I like people who are creating.
I
But
know.
let's go back. So it didn't start from nowhere. Obviously, your parents were.
No, I'll tell you where it started.
Okay.
When you have children,
Yeah.
and you get involved
Yeah.
in the school. So we had a very small grammar school up by Tufts, and I lived on the hillside of Medford for many years. And so my children went to the school there, and the teachers actually didn't have budgets for books and things like that.
Okay.
So my daughter read at home when she was 4, and she went to first grade, and these books were 12 years old. But by law in Massachusetts, the books can be no older than 6 years old.
Okay.
In the new writings, the new editions, in other words. So they were reading books that probably I had when I was a kid. So the teacher said, we have no money. So I said, how about if we run a fair? Well, I had never done that either. So I masterminded this thing and got some parents together. We actually formed a group called TAP, Teachers and Parents, instead of PTA that we didn't
Right.
have to pay to register. So I decided we needed a big raffle item, and then we had like Christmas. It was going to be a Christmas fair. We were going to make all these lovely little Christmas things. So quilts, never made a quilt either. So I looked up some designs that were easy. I drew one out, picked the colors, gave each of the women the colors and the design to put together. So sewing a whole strip. We did strips each, and then we sat and put it all together and did the backing, like a little sewing bee, quilting bee. And we raffled that off, and the money we made between the raffling of the quilt and all of the Christmas table that we did, we made enough money to buy books for the first and second grades. However, the school system would not let us give the money to the teachers to buy the books. It was against the rules. So we went and bought the books, and we brought them to the school. I had them delivered to the school from us, a gift. And the teachers were just like overwhelmed.
Of course.
So then people So it continued for a while because people that saw the things I made during that Christmas fair. I made Holly Hobby dolls, tooth fairy pillows, kinds of things like that. Oh, Della Robbia wreaths and whatever. So I kind of started a little business on the side.
Yeah, but where did you learn that?
I just taught myself.
Oh, self-teaching.
Yeah, my mother was very good at embroidering. So maybe you're making me think way back now.
Yes.
My father was a custom upholsterer. Okay. So my father could make a chair. You gave him the fabric. So the arm here and the arm here had the same exact flower on it. He matched everything perfectly, every stripe. And when he used to work in our basement 2 nights a week on his own from his regular job, he would let me make buttons. See, now you're making me think where this came from.
Yes.
And so there was this little machine, and you cut out the fabric, and you put a little cotton, and then there was a metal bottom, and then a top, and it was like a press. And he was having me make all these beautiful buttons, and I would be so proud, say, I made the sofa, all the buttons. So I guess that's true. My mother, great embroidery, ton of patience with that. And then later on, when she would see me do things, I started making pillows to match like people's bedroom sets and added silk flowers to them. So she started to do
But the
some
flowers,
of that.
you didn't make it?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, I just bought the flowers.
Right.
No, I just bought it all. But just the fabric and the matching and whatever. And so she started to do that too. So, I guess.
So
it
what
did
about your
stem back.
children? The son is a filmer. The oldest son is a
I have
filmmaker.
one son who's a filmmaker and photographer and a musician. He plays several instruments. He plays
And
bass
he has
and
a
guitar.
famous movie.
He has 2 movies. One's called May I Be Frank. Great movie. It's still going around the world as far as Australia now. And his other film was called Love Bomb, which was another fabulous movie about service and
Maybe we should
helping
ask
people.
to show on Medford TV3.
Wouldn't that be wonderful?
Yeah.
It is available for showing now.
Yeah.
So that's my oldest son.
Right.
My middle son, Mark, lives in Hilton Head, South Carolina, and he's an electrician, and he loves it down there. Today he posted it's 72 degrees, and he loves the weather.
Yeah, not bad here today.
Yeah, he'll never come back. I said, well, it's 50 here today.
Yes, but he doesn't do any art, no?
Mark is a bassist. He plays the bass.
Oh, okay.
Yep. So he's a musician too. That's his art.
Yep.
My daughter is a beautiful singer, beautiful voice.
Okay.
She hasn't been out singing in quite a while.
Where's the music came in the family? What side?
Oh, I used to sing.
Oh, you were singing.
Oh, yeah,
Okay.
I sang when I was a young girl.
I see.
And then I was in the Mystic Players here in Medford.
Right. I remember you mentioned once. Yeah.
Right. So, I guess we kind of have some talent in the family.
Absolutely.
So she's a beautiful singer. She draws really well,
Okay.
too. She's a jewelry. She makes jewelry.
And the grandchildren right now, they big.
Oh, my goodness. My granddaughter just turned 16 years
Right.
old.
Yeah.
And my grandson is 13, and he's quite the artist. He loves to do a lot of artwork. In fact, for Christmas, I bought him a whole set of molding clay because he loves to work with his hands. So hopefully I'll see some things that
And the
he's
granddaughter, does she?
made. My granddaughter, oh my God, she took dance for about 6 or 7 years, and she really loved it. And she's not doing that right now, but nothing really artistic about her.
Well, dance
You know,
is
that
it's
dance,
already
right.
artwork also.
But not, in drawing
Right,
or
right,
things
right.
like that. So,
Well, they have grandma for that.
They do. They do.
And the crochet came upon between the PMC and
yeah,
painting.
I don't even know. I think I do know. It was after my surgery, and I was in the house, all winter long, and I was like, oh, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? And I don't know why it even came in my head, but I crocheted years and years ago when my kids were little. And so I looked on YouTube.
Yeah.
That's all I could say. And I watched the steps and and
An idea. Did you hear about paper clay?
No.
Check it out.
Okay. Paper clay.
Paper clay,
And
yes.
what can you make with it?
Sculpting
Uh-huh.
or whatever you want to do, a small decoration.
That could be
And
my new
actually,
thing.
it can combine with your painting, make it more kind of interesting.
Right.
There's two different types of media.
Mhm.
So, well, I'm very happy that you finally made it, because we talked about it a long time ago.
I know we
that
did.
you will come
It was my fault. I was
no,
putting
no,
you
no,
off.
no faults. Everything is fine. So I appreciate it, and I hope my viewers enjoy our talk. And so,
hope so.
I'll see my viewers next time with a new guest. Bye.
Okay. Bye.